you.
Comments?
Just thanks a lot for
No
coordinating that. It's great.
Melissa?
You're
Leslie?
welcome.
Well, I saw you and your daughter sitting there, and your daughter was just so patient. Thank you for joining us
She
tonight.
was patient.
Wonderful.
Would you
Well,
like
with
to
that,
vote?
oh, Leslie.
Thank you.
Sandy, we call the vote?
Belleville?
Yes.
Benford? Fuqua?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, before we move to a break, we go to items pulled from consent, so the grant. So if I had a motion to postpone to our next meeting? Jenny, seconded by Shelley. No discussion, so the motion to postpone the grant till our next meeting, April 24th. Sandy, would you call the vote?
Belleville?
Yes.
Benford? Fuqua?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Before our next item, study item on curriculum, I would suggest we take our 2-hour DVD break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, thanks for a good break. Next item on the agenda is curriculum essentials item, study item, language arts. Dr. Messenger?
So Angel is at the podium. This is an area of responsibility, as Angel is one of our curriculum directors for the district, and so she's anxious to share with you, and I think has the PowerPoint queued up and ready to go.
I do.
So we'll get started. Thanks.
So I'm very happy to be here this evening on behalf of our teachers and our specialists in Boulder Valley. And I'm presenting the curriculum essentials documents for English language arts, world languages, drama, and theater arts. Oh. Throughout the presentation, these are the questions that we'll review. First, how the curriculum documents were written, then what's different within the curriculum essentials documents, and what those changes mean for BVSD. Then we'll take a look at how each of the CDEs are organized in the 3 content areas, what the transition resources are what we have available, and then discuss professional development and also consider the instructional materials that we're going to need throughout this transition. So first is the writing of the curriculum documents. You've heard the presentations from the other content areas. And we followed a similar process. Teachers were paid for the training and then also to write the curriculum documents. We had the drafts that were written throughout the summer and then into the fall and spring semesters. You've heard about the community forums that were held in the fall and also the online feedback opportunities that community had. In October, we had an alignment study of the English language arts standards, and the revision process continued and continued. And now teachers, specialists, and I have worked on writing, revising, and finalizing the curriculum essentials documents. So let's start with English language arts and looking at what's different. We've gone from 6 standards to 4 standards, and I look at this as a positive because in the 6 standards, 4 of those focused on reading and 2 of those focused on writing with a little sprinkling of speaking and listening throughout. Now with the 4 standards, there's much more balance with reading and writing, and also speaking and listening has its own, it is its own standard. Also in our curriculum essentials document, we have throughout pre-K through 2 foundational skills for reading that have been identified. These are specific skills for phonics and phonological awareness, and having our teachers have this information, we can be more specific with our instruction. There's been a shift also in our reading level expectations. Those have increased. We're asking that teachers use grade level complex texts for instruction for all students, and also provide opportunities for students to take the skills learned from instruction and apply it to the text at their independent reading level. Another shift is that there's more emphasis on nonfiction texts at every grade level. There is for both reading and writing. So you'll see an emphasis placed on argument and persuasive texts. In the elementary grades, we use opinion to discuss argument and persuasion. So what does this mean for instruction in BVSD? We're looking at having teachers design more opportunities for technical reading and writing, and also being able to support responses with textual evidence. We're also asking teachers to think about the skills and strategies that students can develop and transfer to any reading or writing opportunity. 2 questions we're asking teachers to consider and ask themselves, am I developing the writer or the piece of writing? If the emphasis is on the piece of writing, the teacher may be sharing a ton of next steps, a ton of skills, and not necessarily sure about which ones the students are taking on. Instead of thinking about the writer, and we're asking them to think about the writer and say, what are the strengths and what are the next steps? And using that piece of writing to teach 1 or 2 of those next steps, then look for evidence of those skills being attained in other future pieces of writing. Same with reading. Asking teachers to ask themselves, am I teaching students skills to apply to reading any text, or am I teaching the text? So we don't teach Hatchet, we don't teach Bridge to Terabithia, we don't teach To Kill a Mockingbird. Those are vehicles now for us to teach the skills for students to apply, again, to anything that they're reading. So we're looking at students developing transferable skills, and searching for the resource that's the best resource to meet those objectives. We're looking for more authentic reading, writing, listening, and speaking tasks, students talking with students. There's more dialogue, and again, as students are reading, they're wondering, they're questioning. We want to take those wonderings and questions that could become the research that students would do. And then also increasing the use of technology, not just for presenting and having kids do PowerPoints and Prezzies, but also for researching and communicating. As we look to world languages, what's new? The shift in language, the shift from foreign language to world languages is a shift that we're excited about, because it focuses on encouraging students to be engaged citizens and not looking at someone or a language outside of their own as a foreign entity or a foreign language. Also, there is a shift. Instead of having grade bands in those three areas, K4, 5, 8, and 9, 12, instead, there are range levels. The lowest level is novice low, and the highest level is intermediate mid. And then another shift is on communication and being the main focus so that they can communicate in the world language that they have taken. So being able to understand cultures, making connections and comparisons, and continuing to practice their communication skills. What does this mean for our teachers and for our students? Well, whether a student is in level 1, level 4, or level 5 of a world language course, 90% of the instruction would need to be in that target language. And also, having increased opportunities for students to practice oral and written communication in that target language. As we move to drama and theater arts, we now have 3 standards focusing on creating, performing, and critically responding. There's more of an emphasis on process as well as continuing the emphasis on products. So there's more of a balance rather than the focus being only on the performance. Also, there are specific learning trajectory. There's a specific learning trajectory, so there are grade level expectations for our students. As I shared, in the old model content standards, it was focused mostly on performance. Now, it's critical thinking skills, problem solving, and the teacher being more intentional about looking for how students are moving through that creative process. There's still an emphasis on performance as well, and considered the product. Thinking about the interconnectivity of theater arts is also emphasized, having students realize that their society, their culture, and lifestyle is mimicked and mirrored within our theater arts. And again, we see our digital tools being expected to be used more. In the theater arts, the shifting is to those new preschool through 8th grade level expectations. And then at the high school, for students that have a general interest in theater, can use the skills that are part of the foundational or fundamental skills. And then for students interested in making theater career, there are extended skills for them. What does this mean for our students and teachers? First of all, there's that focus on developing self and team throughout the creative process. There's more of an emphasis on research and there's still an emphasis on performances, but also helping students to critically reflect, critically respond, and evaluate performances. Moving to the question of how is an English language arts curriculum essentials document organized, we use the similar format, and you have the third grade document available. Because of some of our conversation earlier, there's a few documents that I'd like to share that we have available. So let me go here. Let me maybe go here. Oh, okay. Nope. It is not coming up here. I'll have to go online to share PowerPoint. So I'll talk through some of these and then share some of the other documents. There's a grade level overview, and I do ask as you're studying that you take a look at the GLEs or grade level charts on the overview page. We have adjusted these in Boulder Valley. Teachers saw that the GLE statements were more general and were not measurable. So in our curriculum essentials document, we chose to make our grade level expectations measurable. So please do take some time to look at that overview. Also, something that's in the English language arts document are the writing conventions, scope and sequence. We had the reading foundational skills, but our Boulder teachers wanted to also have something in writing. So we have conventions, and you'll see this document in the third grade, when you look at the third grade document toward the back of it. And again, it's not something that's part of the state document or part of Common Core, but it is something that we have included in our curriculum. World languages are organized similarly with the same aspects or same components of the English language arts. But what we've done with the world languages is that we put them together into one document. So level 1, level 2, level 3, 4, and 5 are not separate curriculum documents, but they're put together in one so that a teacher at any teacher at a school, a world language teacher usually teaches more than one level. So they, instead of having 5 different documents that they have to sift through, they'll have one with all the levels. Drama and theater arts, similar organization. There is the general introduction, the vertical alignment documents, the overview, grade level expectations, and a glossary. As we consider the transition resources that we need our teachers to have available, on our websites we do have a variety, and I do ask that you take a look at these as you're considering this curriculum document during the study. There's a 2-year transition plan that also talks about how to shift resources. There's a vertical articulation chart, and that's actually one I want to share because, Leslie, you had asked about those. Here is an example of one that we have created in language arts for preschool through 5th grade. We have this preschool through 12th grade. So you'll be able to access this on our website. And you can see, as you look at these, you'll see the skill development progressing through the grades. What these are the grade level expectations that are in our curriculum document and the evidence outcomes. So so teachers will have this at their fingertips. Also, they will have this available to share with parents. There was another comment about accepting Common Core or the state document as it is. What we did in Boulder for Language Arts is that when we did the alignment study to create this document, we saw that there was some redundancy in what the state was expecting and what Common Core was expecting. So we used Common Core as our base, and then any of the redundancy we deleted from the state document. Then what we did is added what Boulder Valley teachers believed was essential. So here, anything that's in the lighter color on this vertical alignment document and in the curriculum document itself is either from the state or from Boulder Valley. An example is in this vertical alignment document at middle school. There was not a section about listening to some listening skills that Boulder teachers wanted to have. So this section that you see here on listening to presentations of knowledge and ideas is all from our teachers, and that's incorporated into our curriculum documents. Coming back. So please do take some time. You'll see the reading foundational skills chart and reading and writing exemplar text to provide to our teachers what expectations would be at each grade level, is what is considered grade level in reading and writing. Transition documents and professional development available in the transition documents for world language and theater arts. We do have the state standards and the PowerPoint presentations for teachers to review. Quickly on professional development, we have 4 half-day PDs. One is scheduled for this spring, the April 20th, and then there are 3 scheduled throughout next year. Each of these departments, for each of the departments, we provide professional development based on availability of teachers, availability of funds, and the capacity of our coaches and specialists to provide that PD. So now we have to think about transitioning to the new curriculum and what resources we may need. And we need text and technology. For language arts, the resources adoption years is 15-16 and 16-17. As we're preparing for that, we are considering the purchase of digital resources as well as tangible texts. In the meantime, as we work toward those years, we're asking teachers to review the exemplar texts, consider what they have currently in their classrooms, what they have in the building, what's at the public library that can be used, and what within some schools have instructional resource rooms. To take another look at those resources and to see how many of those resources are fiction, how many of those are nonfiction, how are we using those resources, and how are we leveling them? And there's some professional development we're providing on how to refine our leveling system. We're asking schools to do this, conduct this inventory, and then determine what funds that each year, whenever classroom teachers receive funds for supplies, many times those teachers will purchase books. We're asking them to think about purchasing nonfiction texts to connect more to the curriculum. In world languages and drama and theater, we're looking for those in-class communicative activities and also the software. Leslie, today you mentioned the text to voice, no. Text to, I wrote it down too, but. Text-to-speech dialogue. So that would be one of the things that world language teachers are asking for. Right now, we do have some teachers that use the students' cell phones, and they send messages either by text or they call their teacher during class and speak in the target language. So we're looking for that for world languages, and then also continuously looking for materials for designing and conducting performances in drama and theater arts. I thank you for spending some time listening to the presentation on the 3 content areas curriculum documents, and open for questions.
Questions? Leslie?
I always
Or
have
comments.
questions related to this. Let's see, let me get to my notes. First off, I know that Sam Messier's been working a lot with the elementary teachers on the science notebooking. And obviously that's a way of nonfiction writing, getting that incorporated into elementary. So would that sort of somehow, doing science notebooking, jive with the standards and the essential documents for language arts, or whatever
Yeah.
it's called at the elementary level?
Yes, actually, Sam and I work closely with the science notebooking, and writing in the content areas is a main focus. of the Curriculum Essentials document. She and I have also been spending some time looking at nonfiction and literary nonfiction in science that can be used. We've been looking at the primary grades because we saw that there was a need there, but throughout the grades. So it is a perfect tie. It's exactly, as you look at the curriculum document, you'll see that link to science and social studies content.
Great. And I'm excited to hear that you're looking for a 90% speaking of the target language. You know, my husband's German, and, you know, I'm always amazed when I go to Europe that the kids there speak many languages very well. And I studied 3 in high school and college, and I was never really able to speak one until I went to CU and had a German teacher who spoke everything in German. It really makes a difference. So, you know, hopefully we can graduate kids that actually can speak a language from, you know, high school like they do in Europe, because we certainly have missed the boat. I'm not saying just in the district, but in this country, I think it's been an issue. And then just the last thing, thank you, Angel, for, you know, pointing out that input, the important input that teachers have given on, we think these are critical skills to incorporate into the curriculum, and expanding those, you know, the Common Core or the state standards. So that's good information to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Shelley?
Can you explain what exemplar texts are, and do they have them for every grade, and are they listed somewhere, or?
Yes, and actually in the curriculum document, let me get back here. When you are taking a look at these on our webpage, we have under reading text complexity and under writing types and exemplars. These are documents that, here's the writing, for example. It has, at every grade level, there are examples of what is considered grade level material. What would, and our teachers are constantly asking, well, what does an on grade level writer look like? What would be an exemplar of that, an example of grade level? So in this document, there is student writing samples. So here's a kindergarten example. The student's writing, and then also the annotation of why it's considered an exemplar, why it's considered at grade level, what are the expectations being asked of a student that are evident in the piece of writing. We have this collection as a base, and our goal is, for the next 2 years, is to gather writing samples from our schools across our district, and to add them into a resource bank of exemplars.
And are you looking at what exemplars might be from other countries, or other maybe places that have even higher standards?
We haven't as yet. That would be another thing that we can do to consider putting into our resource bank. Thank you for that.
And so if that's writing, then there's something for reading as well?
There is. Let me show you that. It's in a number of places. Let me take you to, well, it's in both Appendix A and Appendix B. Let's go to Appendix B. It's more filled. So just like you saw with the writing exemplars, here are, for reading, broken into types of texts. For kindergarten and first grade, some stories. We know green eggs and ham. Put me in the zoo. There's stories, poetry, And then also texts that are considered exemplary to read aloud to students. And it goes through each of the grade levels. And then what it does is it gives our teachers excerpts from each of those texts, and goes through why it's considered a text at that grade level, talking about the complexity of the text, the concept development that is appropriate for students at those grade levels. Again, what I've asked as we look at the transition, the 2-year transition document, we've asked teachers to take a look at these and think about what's in their classroom and go through the process of saying, how do these match, how do they not, and adding to our resource bank of exemplars for reading.
So how did you come up with the list then?
This is actually from our the Common Core. This is from Appendix, the reading one is from Appendix B.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So, all of our staff has spent a lot of time this year, or many of our staff members have spent a lot of time this spring responding to Briggs's request for input on legislative pieces, but I would like to take this opportunity while you're here to especially thank you. I don't know how you've had time to do anything else besides respond to requests for responses to amendments to the literacy bill, and I've learned a lot from reading your comments on the literacy bill that's currently in front of the state legislature. So thank you very much for your, and thank you also for the thoughtful work that has clearly gone into this curriculum document. I'm really impressed. But with the literacy bill in mind, I wonder if you've thought about how what we're doing here is going to align, to the best that we can predict, how it's going to align and match up with what the state is now going to be asking for.
Thank you, Jenny. Yes, I've given it a lot of thought as the bill continuously
had,
shifts. With the reading foundational skills that we are using in BVSD, we're seeing that those with the current Colorado Basic Literacy Act, that those foundational skills are a part of the current Literacy Act and will transfer to the Colorado Early Literacy Act. So as we have developed the curriculum essentials, we have ensured that all of those foundational skills are not only within the curriculum, but also a separate document listing those so that teachers have the knowledge. We're going to use that list of foundational skills for teachers to develop common language and to then be able to look for evidence of student growth on each of those skills. So it will play, our curriculum document will match the expectations.
We'll be ready. Okay.
We will be very ready.
And then I just have a definition. What's recursive writing?
Aha. So, we're right now, so I'll give you the brief definition. Instead of a lockstep model of writing that first we write, we plan, then we draft, then we revise, then we edit, then we publish, then we come back and we plan on a new piece. As writers, how often do we really do that? Do we really plan and then draft and never revise while we're drafting, or go back and rethink about something else we want to put in, or edit while we're drafting? So recursive is the messy process of writing. It's possibly starting with a draft and then planning. And then as you're drafting, you're continuously revising and adding on, deleting. You may have to go gather more information, so you plan some more. So it's the messy process of writing.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, that does help.
Right now, we have published these curriculum documents, but I so think that I could go back and revise.
Okay, yeah. They're dynamic, okay, and your writing is dynamic too.
Yes.
Just, on that 90% in the language that's being taught, can you do that at the novice level? You will do that at the novice level? I'm just thinking, when I was a novice, could I have really learned if 90% of what the teacher was saying was in Spanish?
I wondered that myself, so I went to a high school and talked with some students that are in their second year of Spanish, and it was interesting that there were a couple students that were novice and they, their first year, and what they did was spend a lot of time with the speaking of English in the Spanish class, and the students were doing a lot of drill on verb tenses, and the couple of students had to retake Spanish 1, and they took it with a teacher that is very comfortable with speaking the Spanish language and spoke mostly Spanish, and the students picked up a great deal. So my answer would be yes.
And-
Do teachers need support in that? Yes. They're a little spooked about that 90%. We do have to provide them some professional development.
Okay. And just why more emphasis on nonfiction texts? That was another piece of this.
So as we look at the standards being focused on the power standards, post-secondary workforce readiness standards, the emphasis is on having students, when they leave BVSD, able to go into the workforce or go into college. And when we look at the types of texts that we're expected to read in both of those situations, it's more nonfiction than it is fiction. So what we're asking of our teachers is to provide the students with the skills to take texts apart, to support their answers through providing textual evidence, and being able to really dig in and grapple with the concepts within the text, exactly what they would need to be doing in the workforce or in college. So we have that emphasis there. Now, we are not saying, don't put literature in front of the kids. So it's a shift that at the primary grades, we're looking at a 50-50 shift, where it seems to mostly be fiction and a minimal amount of nonfiction. And we see students going into 3rd grade, 4th grade, and struggling with being able to take science texts, social studies texts apart, and being able to understand what they're reading.